Hey, how's it going? So, today let's talk about a use case where we had to use an external log collector. Right, so let's say you have a few syslog devices. Maybe you have few routers or switches and devices, network devices which create syslog um, format of logs, and then you have to collect them, right? So, Splunk Universal Folder does have options where you can, also Splunk Heavy does have options where you can collect your syslog data directly. Like you can create, you can open ports, and then you can receive the data directly to the universal folder, the heavy folder directly. So the problem with doing that is, let's say you are running your syslog connector, or let's say you're running your universal folder to collect data directly, and then you have hundreds of devices sending the logs to the universal folder or the heavy folder, right? So what will happen is there is something called the persistence queue, right? So by default the persistent queue is only 500 KB. So if you're not writing anything to the file, and if you're forwarding data straight to cloud, right, without the persistent queue, if something breaks between the collector and the indexer, right, beyond 500 KB the data is going to get dropped, because the data is not getting written to a file, it is just being collected and sent, right? So that is one use case. Second one is if your internet is slow, right, what is going to happen is the output queue from your universal folder is going to get full, because they in you can't send the data to the input queue on the indexer, right? So that means data will start getting dropped. There's no way to there is a way to increase the persistent queue, but then still it is going to be difficult, right? You don't have that much control over how much data you can keep, and then let's say there's a long period of downtime, right? So you can't use that. So there's several options where you can use an external collector. One of them is the Splunk's own Splunk Connect for Syslog. So Splunk Connect for Syslog is something that is built on top of SC4S. So it is a um, one of those Kubernetes style containerized solution, right? So you can use SC4S to collect your data, and it will send it, you don't even have to install the universal folder, right? So let's say you have installed the Syslog-ng, it can send data to the indexer straight through using heck, right? You don't even have to install anything else. But then if there is a need for, let's say you are using multiple sim tools, let's say you are using Splunk and Logarithm together, right? And you just want to create a centralized Syslog-ng server, then and Splunk Connect for Syslog won't be the right solution, because it would be better if the other sim tool also can read the file, instead of using our Splunk's dedicated SC4S, right? So this is the Ansible playbook that I've written. So all you have to do is, once you have the server set up, right, you just have to create configure the Ansible host file, right, and then you just have to copy paste this thing and then just run it, right? And then once you run it, what happens is port 514 is listening, right? Port 514 listens, and then it gets written to varlog and syslog-ng folder, right? So based on your requirement, let's say you have an external RAID where you have to write your files, then you can just change the file location here, I mean the folder location here, and just restart the syslog-ng and it will work. So everything is done for you. All you have to do is copy paste this, and then that's it, right? So one thing that you have to notice, during the installation of syslog-ng, we have to remove rsyslog, right? So rsyslog is being uninstalled, right? And then as part of uninstallation of rsyslog, you have to reboot the server, right? Server is rebooted, and we just wait for a few minutes, and then once it reconnects, then we continue with the steps, right? So just something else that we are doing custom here is the options, right? So we are using a few more options, like we are creating directories, right? So that means every time a new server sends a data to the syslog box, a new folder will get created. Right, a new folder based on the IP address will be created. So let us quickly spin this instance up and see what happens. Right, I am using Terraform to build my basic server. Right, you don't need to use Terraform, you can use your own server. Right, so I already have my Terraform file created, the TF file created. So let me quickly set up Terraform here. So my Terraform is linked to my AWS account, so it will create my server now. Right, so let's go. So in the meantime, let's talk about persistence queue. Right, so persistence queue is where it can clog due to multiple reasons. Right, let's say your indexer is slow. Right, even if you have the best internet connection, if your indexer is slow, it can't write files to files in the same speed that it is receiving files. Then you will obviously have problems downstream. Right, so that is where you have to use something like a syslog collector, so that even if your queue is slow, you have a place where these files are getting written. Right, so as long as the file is getting written somewhere, you can obviously go back, and then once the issue is resolved, then you can keep indexing it. So yes, so if you store data like a few days, the hard drive will get full. That is why I put in a cron job. Right, so this cron job is set to delete the folder, delete the log file in Syslog-ng for that is older than 7 days. Right, so if you want to store data on the Syslog-ng other than on your Splunk, this is separate, other than on your Splunk, on your Syslog-ng, if you want to store it for more than 7 days, then you can change it here. Let's say you want to store it for 5 days, then you have to change it here. Right, so that is one setting that I put in. So this one will come in as a cron job once the server is spun up. Right, okay, so now I can see my server is spun up. Right, so this is my server IP. Right, now I'm going to run this. So this server is called Syslog-ng. Right, so now the playbook started running. Alright, so let's come back to this. It's pretty straightforward. All it is doing is it's adding the key. Removing the rsyslog. It's rebooting the server, waiting for a small period of time, and then once the wait period is done, it is just going to continue. Right, it's going to add the local repo. Right, so this is I written this for Ubuntu. So if you're using CentOS or Red Hat, you just have to tweak this a bit so that it will reflect your operating system. Right, so this is written for Ubuntu 20.4. Right, yeah, so that's it. Update packages are getting installed. Right, and then once that is done, the cron job is getting added. Right, and then the options files on the syslog-ng.conf is getting amended. Right, so basically Syslog-ng, if you are not aware of it, it is running on just this file. Right, anything under etc syslog-ng ctl.conf and then this folder. So that is pretty much all there is. It's a very simple solution. I mean, a very simple program, but then it's quite powerful. So there's a lot of different options that you can configure, but then everything is getting written through this, controlled through this file. Right, so I'm changing the options file here, adding the source and destination. So let's say if you want to start listening on port 514 on TCP, right, all you have to do is again copy this, paste another block. Right, copy paste it, create another block. Right, change TCP to UDP to TCP. Right, create the same block here, and then once that is done, you have to change it here. Right, so the way it works is there's three parts. Right, source. Right, source is from where you're listening. Right, destination is where you have to write the file, and then there is the log option. The log option is what ties source and destination together, right? So you have your source, you have your you have your source, you have your destination, and the log is where it gets tied together. So it's all in this funny JSON format, right? So in log you say source and destination. So let's say you want to add something else. Let's say you want to create a new TCP connector, right? Same thing, and copy the whole block, right? Change the name to STCP, whatever, right? Change for TCP option here, change TCP option, change it to TCP option, right? Create a new block like this, and add a new filter name. Add a new destination name, and then you create a new log name here. You can just copy paste everything here itself, and then rerun Ansible, and Ansible will take care of everything, right? So let's go back to where we are, right? So we have finished running the playbook, right? So now let us try to connect to the box, right? Cat host. So this is my server IP, right? So let me go into the box, right? Accept. There is a slight delay because this box is running on a EC2 micro, right? So there's a slight delay on connecting. So in the meantime, let's check something else. So we are listening on port. We are listening on UDP here, right? For sending data from your local box to a UDP listener, the way you do it is we have to type the command like nc and then -u, right, and the server name and then port 514, right? So now once we have the command done, so we can start sending traffic, right? So this is how you can start sending traffic. So this is similar to similar to telnet. So let's say if this box was actually listening on TCP instead of UDP, so you would have to do telnet, like telnet this box, right? Telnet this box and 514, right? It's not listening, it's not open, the port is not open, but then this is how you send traffic using if the port was using TCP, right? So let me quickly check. Okay, so let's give me a second. Right, so there is a slight delay on connection, right? Because the box is very tiny. So anyway, so we have the box running now, right? So let's start sending some traffic and see what happens, right? So we are sending traffic here, and let's go to the folder where the logs are getting written. Var log syslog-ng, right? And this is my public IP, right? I'm sending traffic from my local box to AWS, so my public IP is getting written here. And now if we do tail-f, right? So this is the format in which the logs are getting written, right? Today's date, right, and today's month, and then today's year, right, and today's date, right? So let us quickly do this, right? So we have the log running, so you can see this live data, right? So now, so we are written it from one IP address, right? Now let's do this nc-u localhost and then 514, right? And let's send from the server itself, right? So we are sending from the server. So what I want to show you is Syslog-ng. So we have two different IP addresses, right? So this one came from my box, my local machine, and this one is from the server itself, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, so when you're writing your universal forwarder, we can collect logs based on the IP addresses. So we can monitor based on your IP addresses, right? So if you're writing a monitor TCP in, so let's say this box is your firewall, your core firewall Cisco ASA, right? So you monitor this folder, and then the source type will be Cisco ASA, and this folder, let's say, is Fortinet. So you monitor this folder for Fortinet FGT logs, right? So there's a lot of options, like let's say, so this is Syslog-ng, right? So on Splunk Connect for Syslog, just with one port listening, you can send different types of logs, and then Splunk Connect for Syslog is smart enough to understand what type of log is getting received, and it will be forwarded to Splunk in a unique format, so that you don't have to change anything, right? But then for basic Syslog-ng, let's say easy way to do it is, let's say you are receiving traffic from both Fortinet and Cisco, right? You can send it to a different port. So that means a different port 515 for, let's say, Fortinet, right? Obviously you have to change the destination, right? Right destination, right logging option, tie everything together, run ansible again, and then start sending data from Fortinet to this box on port 515, right? So you can write it to a different destination. Yeah, that is all there is. This is the obviously you could, a better option would be to use Splunk Connect for Syslog if you are a complete Splunk shop and you're not using any other SIM tool. But then if you're using other SIM tools and you don't want, your organization don't want to support anything with containers or whatever the reason may be, and you want to use Splunk Connect for Syslog, then I have written the Medium document with the playbook. You can copy paste this, run it, and then you will be good to go. That is all I have, and we will talk again later. Bye.